As dawn broke over the South China Sea, the first light of day revealed a menacing sight: a massive Chinese fleet poised to launch an unprecedented three-pronged invasion of Taiwan. The tense geopolitical situation had finally reached its boiling point, and the world watched with bated breath, knowing that the outcome of this battle would shape the course of history. In the shadows of the cyber realm, Chinese hackers initiated their assault, deploying sophisticated malware and viruses to cripple Taiwan's defense systems and communication networks. Their objective was clear: to sow chaos and confusion among the defending forces, leaving them vulnerable to the relentless attacks that were about to unfold. High above the sea, the roar of jet engines filled the air as Chinese and Taiwanese fighter pilots engaged in a fierce aerial combat. The skies were filled with the contrails of dogfights, as each side sought to dominate the airspace and protect their ground forces. Amidst the chaos, skilled pilots performed daring maneuvers, evading enemy fire and launching missiles with deadly precision. But it was on the shores of Taiwan where the most brutal aspect of the invasion took place. As amphibious assault vehicles charged toward the beaches, Taiwanese soldiers stood resolute, knowing that their very survival depended on repelling the invaders. Heavy artillery boomed, sending shells streaking across the sky and crashing into the approaching fleet, sinking several vessels and igniting fiery infernos on the water's surface. As the Chinese assault vehicles reached the shore, a fierce and bloody battle ensued. Soldiers from both sides charged headlong into the fray, their determination and courage driving them forward despite the overwhelming carnage around them. Machine gun fire rattled through the air, while the deafening explosions of grenades and mortars sent plumes of smoke and debris soaring into the skies above. Welcome back to Timeless Tales. I'm your host, Dex. In today's episode, we're taking a journey to the beautiful island of Taiwan, a place with a rich and complex history. We'll explore its fascinating past, diverse culture, and the ongoing political tensions with China. So buckle up and get ready for an informative, fun, and intriguing adventure. First, let's set the stage. Taiwan is an island located off the southeastern coast of China, with the East China Sea to the north, the South China Sea to the south, and the Pacific Ocean to the east. It's home to a population of around 23 million people, mainly comprised of ethnic Han Chinese, with significant indigenous and immigrant communities as well. The history of Taiwan is a fascinating tapestry of indigenous cultures, European colonization, and Chinese settlement. Before the arrival of the Europeans in the 16th century, the island was inhabited by Austronesian peoples who developed diverse cultures and languages. The arrival of the Dutch and Spanish in the 17th century brought new trade opportunities, as well as conflict and colonization. But the real turning point came in the 17th century when a Ming dynasty loyalist, Koxinga, defeated the Dutch and established a Chinese dynasty on the island. Taiwan later became part of the Qing Empire, which ruled the island until the late 19th century. Following the First Sino-Japanese War, Taiwan was ceded to Japan, who ruled the island from 1895 until the end of World War II in 1945. After the war, Taiwan was handed back to the Republic of China, led by Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government. However, when the communists emerged victorious in the Chinese Civil War, Chiang and his government retreated to Taiwan, establishing it as their last bastion. This laid the foundation for the complex political relationship between Taiwan and the People's Republic of China. So why does China want Taiwan? At the heart of the issue is the One China policy, which asserts that there is only one sovereign China, and that Taiwan is an inalienable part of it. The Chinese government views Taiwan as a breakaway province that must eventually be reunified, by force if necessary. The people of Taiwan, however, have developed a distinct identity, and in many cases, desire greater autonomy or even full independence. A similar case of this issue can be seen in Hong Kong. Although post-COVID, it has become clear that Hong Kong's sovereignty has all but been lost, and the flames of protest suppressed. The United States, on the other hand, has a different perspective. While the U.S. officially acknowledges the One China policy, it maintains a strong, unofficial relationship with Taiwan. This is primarily due to several factors. The first is that Taiwan is a thriving democracy that shares many values with the United States, such as individual freedoms, human rights, and the rule of law. The U.S. has a vested interest in supporting and promoting democracies around the world. The second factor is geopolitical interests. Taiwan occupies a strategically important position in the Western Pacific Ocean, serving as a potential buffer against Chinese expansionism in the region. Supporting Taiwan's autonomy helps maintain stability and balance in the Asia-Pacific region. The third factor is economic ties. Taiwan is a significant trading partner for the United States and an important player in the global supply chain, particularly in the high-tech sector. A stable and prosperous Taiwan benefits the U.S. economy. Overall, the U.S. has consistently disagreed with China's aggressive approach to the Taiwan issue. To ensure peace and stability in the region, the U.S. has enacted legislation like the Taiwan Relations Act, which allows for the sale of defensive arms to Taiwan and emphasizes the need for peaceful resolution of disputes between Taiwan and China. This support is aimed at deterring any potential aggression from China and giving Taiwan the means to defend itself. So what would an invasion of Taiwan look like? In our hypothetical scenario, tensions between China and Taiwan reached a boiling point, and China's government decides to use force to reclaim the island. Launching a large-scale invasion, Chinese forces overwhelm Taiwan's defenses, despite the island's best efforts to repel the attack. But this comes at the cost of many Chinese soldiers who perish in the explosive amphibious landing. So, what would the fallout from such an invasion look like? Here are some potential consequences. An invasion of Taiwan would undoubtedly destabilize the Asia-Pacific region. Neighboring countries such as Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines would undoubtedly feel threatened by China's aggressive actions and consider strengthening their own military capabilities, leading to an even more accelerated arms race in the region. The second consequence would be dramatic economic disruption. A conflict between China and Taiwan would severely disrupt global trade, leading to significant economic consequences worldwide. Companies relying on Taiwanese components, such as semiconductors, would face major setbacks and production delays. We also must not forget that a large-scale military conflict between China and Taiwan would likely result in a significant number of casualties and displace civilians. The international community would face the challenge of providing aid and support to those affected by the conflict. There is always the real risk of an invasion spreading to a global conflict. As stated earlier, the United States has a long-standing commitment to supporting Taiwan's defense through the Taiwan Relations Act. In this scenario, the U.S. could be drawn into a military conflict with China, either directly or indirectly, depending on the level of American support for Taiwan during the invasion. This could strain U.S.-China relations and potentially escalate into a broader conflict between the two superpowers. Moreover, a military invasion of Taiwan would likely damage China's reputation on the global stage. Countries around the world might condemn the use of force and impose economic sanctions on China, further isolating the nation and potentially hindering its global ambitions. Another factor that we must consider is what China would be risking in an attack like this. As a result of the invasion, China could face widespread economic sanctions from the international community. This may be in a similar fashion to the sanctions experienced by Russia today, which would limit its access to global markets, reduce foreign investment, and potentially lead to an economic downturn. Additionally, the disruption of global supply chains could hinder China's manufacturing and export sectors, further exacerbating the economic crisis. In the event of an economic collapse, China's ability to import food could be severely compromised. With a large population to feed and limited arable land, China relies heavily on food imports to maintain food security, with about 10–15% of its requirements coming from others. If global trade is disrupted and China's access to international markets is restricted, the country could face food shortages and, in a worst-case scenario, widespread famine. In addition, an economic collapse and potential famine could lead to social unrest within China. Rising unemployment, food shortages, and a decline in living standards might result in widespread dissatisfaction and protests, putting additional pressure on the government to address the crisis. Faced with these challenges, China's government would likely implement measures to mitigate the impact of the crisis on its population. This could include rationing, price controls, and policies to boost domestic agricultural production. It's important to remember that this is a speculative scenario, and we cannot predict with certainty how events will unfold. However, exploring these potential outcomes highlights the interconnectedness of global economies and the potential consequences of aggressive actions on the world stage. Thank you for joining us as we delved into the potential consequences of a hypothetical Chinese invasion of Taiwan. We hope this episode has provided valuable insight into the complexities of geopolitics and the importance of maintaining peace and stability. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay tuned for more fascinating stories from the annals of history. I'm Dex, and until next time, keep uncovering those timeless tales.